Hey, this is Flash Acting 3, facial animation. So the way I usually tackle facial animation is very similar to the way we animate the body animation. It starts off as a pose-to-pose approach, where we block in all the facial animation first, similarly to how we do the body animation, and then we refine it after with easing and offsetting some of the eyebrow movements. In this session, we'll be taking a look at the dynamics of the face and how to do a head turn in Flash, sometimes referred to as a head splash. And we'll add some blinks. We'll practice using arcs for the head turn, which helps to convey gravity, which gives the animation more appeal and believability. Now we'll be using this Animation Career Pro trainer. There's a man and a woman version. Choose one to work with for this session. They're both rigged the same way. Feel free to take some time to go inside the symbols and take a look at how it's built. We've included some layers with images that you can use for reference to create some facial expressions. What we'll do today is set a facial expression and then do a head turn with a blink to change expressions. We'll do this for each expression here in the file. If you like, you can go ahead and replace any of these images with your own. You don't have to use the ones that we've included. And you don't have to use this character either, as long as your technique is there. Alright, so first let's take a look at the file here. Okay, so in our shot comp, if you double click on that and go inside, you'll see we have ACP trainer. There's a man, which is hidden, and there's a woman. This is the woman. I use the woman in my example. So we'll just turn the woman off, turn the man on. If you are whichever one you're going to use, if you say, for example, you're going to use the woman, you want to hide the man, but you also want to turn guide on so that he doesn't render. So I'll turn it off for now. If you scrub through, you'll see the images change, and these are the facial expressions that you're going to match. So I'll show you the one we already did. Okay, so we've already animated the images changing for you guys, and then you just have to go ahead and animate our character. So in these layers these are just the images, and then if you double click on her, then we have just her head, neck, and ponytail. I have the neck locked so that we don't animate it. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice our head turns first. So as the head starts to turn, you want to get this nice arcing motion with the tip of the nose. Conveys gravity to the audience that the head's sort of heavy, and it also looks more interesting rather than the head just turning straight from left to right. Just adds more appeal and just a little more realism to it. In Flash, though, what we want to do, because we don't have a lot of drawings of the face at different angles. Rather than just this arc, you want to kind of bring the nose out a little bit as for an anticipation, arc it down, and then bring it around like this. And I'll just scrub through the example. Paying attention to the tip of the nose, it antics down, and then we're going to flip it. You see we have a front view there, and then it settles. So in the next head turn, I'm just going to scrub through. You see there's no front view, and it works out okay. In the last one, no front view as well. It just flips, and I'll just play that. The first one has a front view, the second two don't. So the last two look pretty good even without that front view. Okay, so let's go inside the girl's head here. Actually, I'm going to use the guy in this example, just so I don't have to animate the ponytail. What I want to do is I want to do the head turn for every image flip, or every image switch. So I want to have the head turn right around frame 10 for this first one. I'm going to go to about frame 6 or 7 here, and we'll set a key. Be 2 frames down the timeline, we'll set another key, and we'll just anticipate the head a little bit. So what we want to do, let's turn on our onion skinning so we can see what we're doing. So I'm just going to bring the head down a little bit. I'm going to make a new layer here just for notes, and I'm going to actually draw that path of action. So it's going to be something like this. So we're going to anticipate the first movement. It's going to swing down, and then we're going to flip right in the middle here, and then it's going to ease out. Okay, so let's give it another key right next to it. We're going to give it 2 more keys. So we have an anticipation pose, and then we're going to do 2 more keyframes right next to each other. Now these 2 are for the flip. So what we're going to do on these 2 is we're going to squash the head a little bit, squash it down in Y, and stretch it out in X. And you could even give it a bit of a skew, just to get that nose down a little bit. And then in the next one, we're going to flip it. Now you can look at the width and the properties. It's 147. So we'll flip it over to approximately, and just look in the properties, around 147. Okay, so we'll do it about the same. And then on this side, we want to basically do what we did on the other side, but just flipped. and then we'll skew it a little. So now we have his original pose. Comes down, skew it a bit, flip it. Now we're going to work with these two a little for a moment. These two keyframes that are squashed. What we want to do is we want to get that nose in closer to the middle, and then on this side we want to do the same thing. So we're just gonna, on this one, we're just gonna bump it in a little bit using our arrow keys. Not too much. This character has this little chicken skin thing going on, but if you have a character that doesn't have that, you can get away with more. Bring it in a little further. So we're going to bring the nose in, bring it down a little. So we have this kind of thing going on. That's why some people call this a head splash, because the head sort of squashes and splashes and then pops back up again. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to bring it in closer, bring that nose in closer to the middle, as far as we can without this part of the neck coming, this part of the head coming off the neck, and then bring it down. Okay, so now what we want to do is copy the first frame, and then we'll give it another 2 frames and paste it, and then we'll take a look at the width. It's 147.2, so we'll just flip it around so we get around 147.2. There it is. So it's the same width. What we can do now is tween these, create a classic tween in between the first and last frame. So it's not too bad, actually. On our anticipation pose here, is maybe just give it a little bit of a skewing, and so all it really does is go down. It moves down, and maybe we'll start to squash it a little bit more, just a tiny bit, just to get it to work into that next pose. And I'm going to rotate this one down a little too. We can start to rotate the anticipation pose down just a little, just so you get the head starting to rotate before it flips. And on this one we can rotate it a little more, and then on the flip we'll rotate it the opposite way. And what we're going to do is we're going to settle into this last pose. We can either drag this out a little, place your marker anywhere in the in-between. We can use Flash's ease function in the properties here. Just drag the ease up to 100. Let's see how that looks. And that's not too bad. This anticipation of the head turn and the ease at the end, what it's doing is sort of hiding the fact that it's flipping here. It disguises it a little bit, distracts our eye from it. So it just looks like a nice smooth head turn. And let's bounce out here, just double click out in space. Okay, so we're going to select our symbol here, and let's go into the properties, and let's choose under looping, let's choose play once. If it's not already on that, it's going to play the animation inside the symbol once. So now that we've set it to play once, it should play what we just did. And it plays it right when the image changes. So we're going to do 2 more head turns, and then we're going to change the expressions into these new expressions every time the head turns. Check out when the next image changes. It's changing at around frame 31. You can see it here. Let's go back inside, and we'll have the head turn around right frame 31. So we know that we need 2 frames of anticipation first, so we'll go back to about frame 29, set a key. Alright, so for that first one, just bring the head down a little. And this time that we already know now that we should rotate it, give it a little bit of a squash and a stretch. Just keep it real subtle on that anticipation. And then we'll set those 2 more keys. 1, 2. Okay, so these 2 are going to be for our flip, these 2 keys here. So we have an anticipation pose and then 2 for the flip. So this first one isn't going to flip, it's going to just squash a little bit more extreme. And then we're going to skew that a little. And remember, we bring this one in toward the middle. And bring it down a little. And we can rotate that a little more. And then this next one, we're going to have the same thing going on here, but flip the other way. So let's take a look at our properties. 167, the width. So let's flip it over until the width gets to around 167. And we'll bring it in toward the middle a little. We're going to give it more of an extreme squash. Just sort of eyeball it, try to get as much like this as possible. skew that one a little. So that's looking alright. Remember to try and get that nose in it as far to the middle as you can. On this one, and then on this one we're bringing it to the left. Okay, so now we have it squashing and flipping. Now you want to get it back to its normal head. So let's go down the timeline here. We want to get it into the head where it's facing right, the 3/4 right facing head. So let's just go to the first frame and we'll just copy this one over here. Go to the tween. So it should be about 5 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll just slide that one over 1 frame. Okay, and let's tween these. Classic tween, classic tween. There we go. So let's play that one. Let's add our ease to this in between at the end. There we go. That'll help. So now we have 2 head turns. Go back to the shot comp layer and we'll watch that. 1, 2. So the next one is at around frame, it's on frame 49, and that's our last head turn. So what we can do, we've already done 2. Let's just copy and paste this last one. The last one also goes from facing screen right to facing screen left. So we'll just copy these. Copy frames. Paste frames. And then it gives extra frames at the end here that we don't need. So we'll just highlight those and remove frames. Okay, now I just want to make sure that we put it in the right spot. So I'm just going to dive out. It was frame 49. Okay, so we have to move this over. Frame 49 is right here, so we need to move it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Within a couple of frames, it's fine. So I'm going to jump back out here. Let's just scrub over it, or play it all. 2, 3. Okay, so we got our head turns in. Alright, so now let's start working on our facial expressions. So the first one is happy. We get this crazy, unrealistically happy guy here. So let's just dive in here. Go back inside. I'm going to go to where our head turn is. Actually, let's get our blinks in first. So let's have him blink right before he turns his head. So let's double click to get inside his head. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And the black ring around his eye is where you can select his eye. So what we need to do is do an eye blink around frame 10, I believe it was. Yep. So we're going to have the eye close at frame 10. So let's go back inside the head, select this black ring, and we'll go to frame 10. And let's just press F6, select that symbol, go to the properties, just like we did with the other body parts. We're going to swap the symbol out, and let's close his eye completely. So I'm just going to use the up arrow keys, just so you know it's number 4, it's eye number 4. You can double click on the eye and you'll see all the shapes of the eyes. You can scrub through and see what they are. But double click back out. So we have the eye closed now. We scrub over that. We'll have the eye closed in 1 frame, so it just pops closed. We'll leave it closed for 2 frames. And then I'm going to set another key. Select the eye symbol, go to the properties, click on the text field, and I'm going to up arrow key. Let's go to the half open eye. You choose this one or this one. There's 2 variations. So we'll have the eye open in 2 frames, which is actually pretty standard. And then I'm going to go to the next frame down the timeline and set another key, and then we'll have it go to its full open eye. I know that's number 1. So when we scrub over that now, we have an eye blink. If you play it, it's a fairly quick blink, but you don't want a blink to be too slow because then the character looks tired. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. Press F6, set a key, and we can smash it up at the same timing. And there we go, we have 2 eyes blinking. Alright, so if we play that now, okay, so we don't see it, because this symbol is probably not set to play once, it's set to single frame. So we'll select the head symbol, and set this under looping, set it to play once. I suggest that before you start doing the facial animation, select the symbol, this head symbol, and set this to play once. So I didn't do it before I started setting keys for the head turn. So now what we have to do And this is just a flash thing. You have to go to a single frame, play once. And I'm just gonna quickly go through and do it on every one of these keys. Yeah, so this is one thing I wanted to actually let you guys know about. This is going to be something that's ongoing as you're doing character animation. When you set keys on the head, because you have facial animation going on inside the head, this head symbol is like a TV screen, and it's playing what's being broadcast inside of it. If I double click, this is everything that's going on inside of it. Now we're going to have animation going on, animation on the mouth, animation on the eyebrows, and probably the pupils too. So everything that's going on inside here is being played on this head symbol. Because everything's being played inside this symbol, you have to have the head symbol set to play once, and then it says first here. So if we go to frame 1, click on the symbol, on frame 1 it should be on 1 here. Now you go down the timeline to the next keyframe, and that keyframe's on frame 7, and you can see that right here. It's on frame 7. So it has to be, when you select the symbol, it has to be on play once, and this has to be on 7. So this number has to match the frame number for each key. If you set these keys and you don't move them, that's fine, as long as it's set to play once when you start. But if you start to slide these keys around on the timeline, you'll have to make sure that this number, this frame number, corresponds with this number. So this is frame 9. You'll see it here. I'm going to select the symbol, and I have to set this to 9. Frame 10, change this to frame 10. Now you wouldn't have to do this if this was already set to play once from when I started animating, started setting these keys. But a lot of times when you're doing character animation, you're going to be adjusting your timing. After you do the blocking, you're going to have to go through and readjust these numbers. Okay, so that's finished. So if I play this now, okay, so let's do the eye blink for the second head turn, and we'll get it to blink at frame 32. So let's go inside. Now we can copy and paste these ones. That's a good thing. You only have to do this once. So I copy. We want it to blink at 32, so we'll go 2 frames before 32 at 29, and we'll paste it. And the Flash always gives us these extra keys at the end that we don't need. Clear keyframe, and it gave us these extra frames too. So we'll just worry about that in a few minutes. Let's go back out. The next blink should be at frame 50. So we'll go 2 frames before frame 50 at 48 and paste those. And now let's get rid of these extra keys. Remove frames. There we go. And we'll get rid of these extra keys as well. Clear keyframe. Scrub over and check it. Yep, it's blinking nice. Now let's double click to get out, and we'll play the whole thing, make sure it blinks nice at every head turn. Okay, the second one's a little early. So we'll scrub over that. See, this one blinks here, right at the head turn. You want those eyes closed on these two poses where it flips. So it closes early here, and it closes early here as well. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 frames early on this one. 2, 3. I'm just going to shift that over 3 frames, bounce out and check it. There we go. Okay, so the next one, I want to have it close here, and it closes at the wrong time. 1, 2, so 2 frames early. So let's just select these and shift them over 2 frames. Bounce back out and check it. We'll play that now. Okay. So we got our blinks in, we got our head turns in. Let's work on our facial expressions. So the first thing I want to really explain, remember back when we were doing mood and posture, we were talking about S curves, C curves for body posture. Well, it's a similar thing with facial expressions, especially when we're talking about the eyebrows. The eyebrows usually follow a line of action. So in this happy pose, you can see his eyebrows are in this shape. But if you follow it through with one line, this is kind of like what the muscle does in the face. So you can usually connect with any kind of eyebrow expression, you can usually connect the eyebrows with one line. Okay, so now for her expression, she's surprised. So the muscles in her eyebrows are sort of doing this whole eyebrow ridge. It's a very similar thing to that one, to the happy one. Now this guy's frightened. Now his are sort of doing something different. This side is more curved, and this side is more, we'll simplify it for animation, but it's more on an arc. But if we connect those, we have this kind of action going on. So he's angry, so angry eyes usually, the muscles in the eyebrows usually really clamp down toward the inside of the eye. The muscles in the eyebrow ridge often come up high on the outside of the eye. So if we want to exaggerate that for animation, do something like that. So you can see we have different lines of action for the eyebrows. Now things like crinkling in the nose, especially in Flash, we're not really going to worry about that. We're going to keep things simple. Sometimes when you work in 3D, especially on a feature production, the models will be rigged to do that sort of thing for the face. But the expressions we're going to put on our character is going to be more of an impression and not an exact copy of the facial expression. We're going to try and exaggerate as much as we can. We'll have the facial expression change when the blink occurs. Let's get inside our head comp here. We'll set the first expression. And let's work on the mouth first. So we're going to dive inside the head, select the symbol for his jaw. You can see this is his jaw here. And let's go to the properties, select the text field, and we can arrow up and down. He has a series of happy mouths and a series of sad mouths, so I'll just flip through them really quick so you get an idea. So he has a closed smile mouth. Number 2 is teeth, teethy grin. 2 is open mouth. Then he has 3 variations of open mouth. So there's 1, 2, 3. For this one, when we get into phonemes, a mouth that we use for L sounds, TH sounds, F and V. For F sounds and V sounds, where the lip is tucked under the front teeth. And this one can be used for R, OO sounds. And then it starts over again. So now for the sad mouth, it's all the same thing. We'll put him in the largest mouth that he has, happy mouth. And that's pretty much all we can do with this, unless you want to go inside the symbol and create new mouths, which I encourage you to do, or if you have your own character, you can try and copy that as close as possible. And for the eyebrows, press Q on your keyboard for the free transform tool. The eyebrows can be moved around, they can be rotated, they can be flipped to get all kinds of different expressions. Just get those up as high as possible. So what we'll do is we'll go in and change the eyebrow a little bit just to make it a little more arched so we can exaggerate this. I think I've explained this before. We have a line layer and a fill layer. The line layer is locked and hidden. The fill layer is what we see. Lock and hide the fill layer, unlock and unhide the line layer. So we can just see the line. We'll stay on the line layer for a minute. And it's done this way so that you can easily edit the line and then convert it to fill. Create a blank keyframe at the end of this layer, and then I'll copy the first eyebrow, copy frames, and we'll paste that at the end. Now what I can do is just make this eyebrow way more happy. You can also use envelope. Just to get it more arched. Move that up to the top. And then lock and hide the line layer, and then unlock and unhide the fill layer. So we can go to a previous eyebrow, one of our other eyebrows, and just hit I on your keyboard. Let's copy the color, go to this new eyebrow, and we can just fill it. So it's number 3. So that's on frame 3, seen here. And now let's zoom out, and we'll double click to get out of here. And then if you click on the eyebrow symbol and change this one to 3 in the properties, you see our new eyebrow. We can change this one to 3 as well. Let's see if we can just use the same one. Yeah, we can do that. Just rotate it a bit. And that works. Alright, so let's jump back out of here. We got our happy face. Alright, so we'll change our expression here. Let's change it at frame 11. So we have to go all the way back out to the shot comp layer. And let's just scrub until we see the next image change here. We have our surprise lady. Okay, so let's dive into the head now so we can see her. And we'll go right inside the head, and we said frame 11, right? Go down to the mouth. Actually, we'll go to frame 10, and let's close his mouth. So go to frame 10, set a key, select the mouth. So let's close it for the blink, and then I'll go to the eyebrows. I'm going to stay on frame 10 here for this expression change, and we'll change the eyebrows back to their original eyebrows. So just select the next eyebrow to see what layer it's on, set a key. For both eyebrows, select the layer, or select the symbol, and let's go to the properties in 1. Our mouths are closing, the eyebrows are going back to the original shape. And then let's go to where the eyes are completely opened. and we'll set our next pose, or our next expression. Let's go to frame, was it 13, where the eyes open completely, or whatever frame yours do, and set a key. Let's work on the mouth first, this one here, and let's work on the eyebrows now. It's going to set a key on both eyebrows, and then we'll just move them into place. Okay, so I'm just going to get out and check that. Try and exaggerate and push it as far as you can. Actually, those new eyebrows might even work better for this. Okay, so let's hop out of here and let's take a look. And let's go back to our shot comp level. The next one is frightened. Okay, so let's get in here. Double click on the head, get inside. So we want to get those eyebrows back to around neutral or into an anticipation pose for the next expression. And let's start doing it around frame 32, or at probably right on frame 32. So we know it's frame 32. So we'll get inside. Let's go to frame 32. And like we did before, we can start with the mouth. Frame 32, and let's set a key. Now we don't have our mouth like this really in this rig. And let's go through the mouths, take a look at what we have. It's definitely going to be one of the sad mouths. So I guess we can go with this clenched teeth. This is a transition, so let's just go to the sad closed mouth. Alright, so let's go back up to the eyebrows. All on frame 32. Let's just keep our mindset on frame 32 here. We'll key both eyebrows, set them back to 1. Bring the eyes down a little bit. Anticipate the next expression. As he blinks, everything goes back to around normal. And then for the last expression, it's when the eyes pop wide open. So I'll set a key on the eyebrows. I'm going to go back and just keep my formula the same here, my workflow the same. And as I'm going to always do the mouth first and then the eyebrows. Make sure you do the entire expression all together so you can see the whole thing at one time. Okay, so we're going to do the mouth for this frightened expression now. Like I was doing before, I'll use these teeth, the clenched teeth. Go back up to the eyebrows, which I've already set keys on. I didn't pose them yet. I'm going to flip them to get a more scared look, even though it's not exactly what he's got here, how his eyebrows are, but on some other people, on another human being, the eyebrows would be arched all the way up. So we can do that here. You always want to think about this line. The eyebrows should be able to connect in a line like this. You know what? I think I'm going to change this mouth. He doesn't look scared enough. Let's just open it up a little like he's got here. You can still at least see the top teeth. And if you want to push it even more, remember the animation principle of exaggeration. So we want to exaggerate as much as possible here. Between these eyebrows are going to flip. So what we're going to do is just give this a bit of movement. I'm just going to select the whole region in between the two eyebrow keys and just F6, set 2 more keys. Let's just zoom in here a little bit, and I want to get these eyebrows starting to come down a little bit. So when we scrub through, we have them coming down a little, and then we'll do it a little bit more. Let's just turn the onion skinning on for a minute. So we want to in between this a little bit, just so it doesn't snap so rigidly. Maybe even scale it a little bit. So with onion skinning off, and just scrub over that. He'll be turning his head at this time. We know that because it's where the blink is. This pop will be a little bit hidden. So let's check it out. Let's double click to get out of here. And let's scrub over it. Alright, let's just play it. Oh, it doesn't look too bad. It is angry. Alright, so let's go to angry. Oh, he's going to go into his neutral pose. He blinks at frame 50. Just scrub away from where he's squashed so it doesn't go into the head. So it's frame 50. So let's double click to where inside where the face features are. Go to frame 50, and let's do the mouth. Set a key right on frame 50. Select the mouth, and we'll go to, I know frame 11 now is the closed sad mouth. We'll do the entire expression on frame 50. I'm just going to set a key on both eyebrows here. We'll put them back to, I'll just copy these ones. So now we have our neutral pose, and when the eyes are open completely, we'll pop into, it'll be the next key pose for our angry. I'll just set a key here for now. Again, putting my marker. We're going to do the mouth first. I set the keys in the eyebrows, but I didn't change anything. I just put it there to remember where I'm at. We'll go to this angry, and now we'll do the eyebrows. I'm going to see what I can do with the eyebrows we have. The goal here is to get it to look, just squeeze as much expression as you can out of this character's face. Even if you have to go in and create a new eyebrow or adjust the mouth, I would like to see you guys do that. Make the adjustments if you can, and just get it as much expression as you can. He should look even angrier than the real person in the picture. Okay, so I'm just going to give these eyebrows a bit of an in-between. Doesn't pop so much. You know what would be nice? I'm noticing that this eyebrow that raises up high stops really hard. Let's go back inside. I'm just going to make a small adjustment to this eyebrow, and what I'm going to do is give it a bit of an ease. So I'll go maybe 3 frames down the timeline here. I'm just going to raise it up, just nudge it with the arrows on the new one, on the new keyframe I set, and just maybe nudge it down a bit on the one previous to that. Create a classic tween, and we can even put some ease on it in the properties here. It just gives it a bit of a cushion. So I'm just going to go back out again and play it, and that's better. Alright, so lip sync and accents are next.